What's your favorite scary movies? Hello everyone, October has begun, and you know what that means? It means now it is officially Halloween season. Now in this little video, I just want to bring my recommendations of must-see films for the season of Halloween, for the 31 days of Halloween, so to speak. So this is going to be a quick video of me giving my personal recommendations of movies you could go see. Some are classics, some are more obscure films, and others are really deep horror films from the 1980s and 90s. But all are perfect for the season of Halloween. So let's get started. As a must, if you're a 90s kid or grew up in the 90s, or even if you're a kid once, you know that Hocus Pocus is a must-see every year. Such a classic by Disney. I love Hocus Pocus. The songs, the scariness, everything about it is just Halloween incarnate. Another Disney classic is Halloween Town and Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. Such classics. I remember seeing the first Halloween Town on Halloween of 1998. Yeah, almost 20 years ago. That makes me feel old. But I also have another late 90s movie called Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I love this movie. It's the only Scooby-Doo movie, especially out of the animated ones, that deals with real monsters. They're zombies. Such a good movie. Then I would also have Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1992. Now this is more of a comedy movie than the seriousness of the TV show, but is still solid in its own right. Has Christy Swanson, Luke Perry, Rutger Hauer, Donald Sutherland, and a really good early 90s soundtrack. Something about it is a guilty pleasure for me on Halloween season. After that, who are you gonna call? The Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 1 and 2 are classics and perfect movies to watch that are spooky yet filled with fun, adventure, and comedic moments. Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Ivan Reitman, and Dan Aykroyd, along with Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver. Classic films. Ghostbusters is a national treasure. And who are you going to call this Halloween season? Call the Ghostbusters. Those movies are amazing. Going back to the 90s, we also have Casper from 1996. Such an underrated movie. It has Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman. I love Casper. Such a heartfelt film, family-friendly film, yet having a certain spookiness to it. Also, the haunted house is the same haunted house from Everybody's Backstreet's Back. So yeah. I would also recommend a loose prequel called Casper: A Spirited Beginning. Straight to video, but it has Steve Guttenberg and it's pretty much like the same as Casper, but with a boy character and a little bit of the cartoon. Overall, a solid straight to video movie. Then I would have this film called The Craft from the 90s. Such a good movie with witches. I love The Craft. How Soon Is Now by Love Spit Love. Great cover by them. Yeah, The Craft is a perfect movie to watch for Halloween season. Another movie with witches is Practical Magic with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. Such a creepy, eerie film. There's just something about witches and Halloween that's just so mystical to watch and just perfect for the fall season. After that, I would have two Wes Craven series with A Nightmare on Elm Street. Classic, scary film. That's the reason why I'm scared to go to sleep sometimes. And yes, his name is Freddy. And Johnny Depp's first movie. I have reviews of Nightmare on Elm Street, but that series of films are perfect for Halloween. And you also have the Scream series of What's Your Favorite Scary Movie? It redefined the horror genre. It's very meta. Those two series started out by Wes Craven are so well done and perfect for Halloween. In addition to that, you have Jason with the Friday the 13th series, Michael Myers on Halloween. I love those. Even Season of the Witch is an underrated movie in my opinion. And then you have Child's Play with Chucky. And then Phantasm. The Phantasm series, a little bit more obscure, is really scary for Halloween. If you're like a hardcore horror fan, I recommend watching Phantasm. And then we have Pinhead with Hellraiser. Not the Ozzy Osbourne song, but still a creepy movie. Over that, I have a couple of Tim Burton films with Beetlejuice. Just don't go around saying it 3 times, though. Classic movie, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, younger Winona Ryder with Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. It's showtime. I love that film. And then Sleepy Hollow with the Headless Horseman, a very good Johnny Depp movie. And then we have Sweeney Todd. Those are just perfect Halloween Johnny Depp films created by Tim Burton. Then, going on to Tim Burton, we also have Batman from 1989. It's more superhero, but I like it for the Halloween season. And even though he produced it, you also have Batman Forever. Something about it just feels very Halloween to me. You have a sequence on Halloween. It came out on VHS on Halloween. I remember seeing it. I remember dressing up as Batman. So yeah, that's just a good movie, I feel. But getting back to Tim Burton, you have The Nightmare Before Christmas and The Corpse Bride. Two very good films. I just love those films. I love Tim Burton. He just is perfect for Halloween on his movies. Just no matter what, he has that gothic vibe going for him in those films where you could just watch his films and it'd be perfect for the mood of Halloween. Then I'd also recommend The Exorcist. That's a very underrated movie. It came out on Christmas, but if you're in the mood for a demonic movie, that's good. Constantine with Keanu Reeves is really good. Him hunting demon hunters based on a comic. And then we get to Blade trilogy. I love the Blade films. Blade is just perfect. It's action. It's based on a comic book, so you kind of have that superhero action element with vampires. The first two are stronger than part 3, but they're good, solid films on their own right. And then we get to Underworld. The Underworld series is another great film series to watch on Halloween, as well as the Resident Evil films. Say what you will, they're not like the video games, but the first couple of movies and some of the others do offer some great zombie entertainment. Then we have George A. Romero films with Night of the Living Dead. I think that's another great movie. Shaun of the Dead, Edgar Wright's comedy film that started off the Cornetto trilogy. Such a fantastic, funny movie with Simon Pegg. I love that. And then speaking of lighter, there's this underrated film with Mary-Kate and Ashley called Double Double Toll and Trouble. Such an underrated film. I always remember films like It Takes Two, the Mary-Kate and Ashley Adventures, Full House, but that's one movie that's very early, yet that offers a spooky, perfect vibe for Halloween. So if you have not seen that film, I highly recommend it. They used to have it on the Disney Channel all the time. Then going back to vampires, we have The Lost Boys. One of the perfect vampire movies, and one of the best vampire movies of the 1980s. I love The Lost Boys. Sleep all day, party all night. It's fun to be a vampire, but you must feed. I love that. And if you dare, you could watch the sequels, but the original Lost Boys is just perfect in any right. I can't believe Joel Schumacher did Batman and Robin and The Lost Boys, but The Lost Boys is pretty awesome. Another underrated 80s vampire flick is Fright Night. I love it. Welcome to Fright Night. Directed by Tom Holland, who did Child's Play. I love this movie, a very underrated 80s film at that too. And if you're in the mood for more 80s films, you also have Once Bitten, starring a very young Jim Carrey. Kind of a teen comedy vampire film. Then we have American Werewolf in London, directed by John Landis, who did the Thriller music video. Such a great werewolf movie. You also have 1994's Wolf with Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson, and that one's not entirely a horror film, but it is creepy enough for Halloween, and very underrated, I might add. It has two people from Batman, and then James Spader as the villain. Yeah. If you want to go back to the 80s, we have The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell as of course, Ash. Evil Dead is a solid film. Evil Dead 2 is pretty much a remake of The Evil Dead, but if you're in the mood for a cult horror movie, Evil Dead's a perfect movie for you this Halloween season. And it was a basis for the show Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I would also maybe recommend Army of Darkness, even though the first two are more horror movies. Then going back to Tim Burton, we have Edward Scissorhands, very underrated Winona Ryder, Johnny Depp movie. Has Vincent Price in the beginning. Very tragic movie, yet perfect, like many other Tim Burton films, for Halloween. And then I would also recommend The Purge trilogy and the Insidious trilogy. Blumhouse is just a force to be reckoned with for Halloween, for horror movies in the past decade, and those films are really great modern horror films to watch for this Halloween season. A couple of other classics are Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks as Gene Wilder, Frank Boyle. Great funny movie. And then another classic, The Addams Family and The Addams Family Values. I just love The Addams Family, Angelica Houston, Raul Julia, Christopher Lloyd, Christina Ricci. Two great films. Even John Cusack's sister, as the villain in Family Values. It's just fantastic. Funny movie. Perfect for Halloween. Addams Family is just an all-around awesome, enjoyable movie. Going back to Scooby-Doo, I recommend an older Scooby-Doo film called Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers. It has Shaggy and Scooby-Doo meeting a pair of ghosts. Great film. And then also the old Universal horror movies. Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Lon Chaney Jr.'s The Wolfman, Boris Karloff in The Mummy, and Frankenstein. Such a great series of films with Bride of Frankenstein, all its sequels. Any old Universal Pictures movie is great. And as far as remakes go, I recommend The Wolfman from 2010 and the Brendan Fraser Mummy films, The Mummy from 99 and The Mummy Returns. The Mummy Returns is a bit more of an action film, but that first one still has horror elements and is really good. Then, if you like Huey Lewis in the News, I recommend American Psycho starring Christian Bale. If you're in the mood for a more hardcore R-rated movie, I recommend the unrated version because it's basically NC-17. I love American Psycho. It's a dark comedy that's a satirization of yuppie 80s culture. And then other remakes I highly recommend is Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992. Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, and Keanu Reeves. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's one of my favorites. And Dracula Untold was good. It tells the whole story, but if you want a better origin story in 5 minutes, watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's not for the faint of heart. It's one of the best 90s vampire films. And going on that is Interview the Vampire. Such a great movie. Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Christian Slater, Antonio Banderas, Kirsten Dunst. Such a fantastic movie directed by Neil Jordan based on the Anne Rice novels. One of my favorite vampire movies that got me into vampires. That is a perfect movie for Halloween season. And while it may not be as faithful to the book, its sequel, Queen of the Damned from 2002, is another great movie. Aaliyah's last film with Stuart Townsend, a great, great film with Jonathan Davis from Korn doing the score. Great soundtrack too. Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. Queen of the Damned is a really good movie. And also from the late 90s, early 2000s are Final Destination and Final Destination 2. Yeah, this makes you really scared to death. Those are just good, like, popcorn Halloween films to watch for the season. And then if you're in the mood for some classics, I love Alfred Hitchcock films. Any Alfred Hitchcock film would be good, but Psycho, the original Psycho, is such a great and thrilling film, even in black and white. It really did change the genre, and without Psycho, you really wouldn't have had Halloween or Scream. And then another remake I like is David Cronenberg's The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum. Such a great modernization of The Fly at that point in the 1980s. And then also like Donnie Darko, that's another cult classic, and that's just perfect for Halloween. Even though it's not exactly a horror movie, it just has a creepy science fiction vibe that's perfect for the season. Another remake is John Carpenter's The Thing, starring Kurt Russell. Such a great 80s horror film, and really is a way you should do remakes. It really honored the original while adding something more to the mythology. Back to the 90s, I Know What You Did Last Summer, from the writer of Scream, Kevin Williamson, another great Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr. movie that's just a guilty pleasure. And then other guilty pleasures are Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood, and Demon Knight. And what's better than that, and here's where we get to TV shows I recommend, Tales from the Crypt, the TV show, is perfect. You have Twilight Zone, Stranger Things, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, and an underrated show that only lasted one season called Moonlight, starring Hawaii Five-O's Alex O'Loughlin. I just love those TV series, so if you're in the mood to watch something other than movies, those are just some TV series recommendations I recommend for the Halloween season. Then, I highly recommend Scary Movie, the first one, but the Scary Movie series is a funny parody on horror movies that I highly recommend, but the Wayans Brother ones are better than the later on movies. Another TV show and movie I recommend is From Dusk Till Dawn, a very great, underrated kind of crime vampire movie of the 90s, starring George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, directed by Robert Rodriguez. And then you have 3 seasons of From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. Very underrated show. I actually like it better than the movie series, but you get to see Isa Gonzalez from this year's Baby Driver, DJ Catrona, Zane Holtz. I absolutely adore Brandon Lee's The Crow from 1994. His last movie is a perfect film for Halloween, and if you're in the mood for something action-packed, dark, gothic, yet has the overall essence of Halloween, that is a dark movie for you, and it was way ahead of its time. Brandon Lee gave the performance of his life in that movie, and if you have never seen The Crow, I highly, highly recommend it. It's such a classic film, and no better time to see it than Halloween. Another 80s film that's actually better than its remake is Poltergeist. Poltergeist is just a creepy film, and again, before Paranormal Activity, it made me scared of ghosts. Even before Insidious. Yeah, the whole little girl there at the TV, and then her saying, "They're here," just scares me. Along with that woman with that funny voice. And then 3 Stephen King adaptations I recommend are The Stand and It, with Tim Curry. Great film. The original It goes through both parts of the story as a miniseries, and if you've seen the new one and you want to see what the whole story is, read the book and see the miniseries. It's very well done, especially for the stuff that could only get away with TV. It still is very effective. The Stand is also a very good film. And another one that has Rob Lowe with the miniseries is Salem's Lot from TNT. A very slow miniseries. It's a slow burn, but it does build up to a creepy climax. And if you like vampires, that's the movie for you. I don't know. For me, Ian Somerhalder and Rob Lowe just look the same in that. I don't know. He looks like Ian Somerhalder. That could be father-son. Like older Damon, younger Damon. I don't know. And then 2 other films I recommend are Cursed by Wes Craven. It's lighter, not as scary, but it's really well done. And then Red Eye with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. Not exactly a horror movie, but a good suspense film by Wes Craven. Anyway, those are just some of my recommendations from television shows and movies you could watch in the season of Halloween. Again, you might be aware of some of them. If there's some that you didn't know, go check them out. I just want to make a quick video giving my recommendations for stuff to watch during this wonderful season of Halloween. Be prepared to see much more Halloween material on the Frederick Lopez channel here. And again, give me some Halloween recommendations in the comments below. Let me know some films that I didn't mention that are really good to watch during Halloween. Take it easy out there. I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween season. And yeah, if you like this video, click the like button, comment on some of your recommendations, and subscribe for more videos. Get ready for more material coming soon.